But today, everything is scientific, has to be proven, and I'm sorry, in my opinion, I think that our scientific research tools are too primitive to prove anything.
Well, I totally agree. Mă bucur tare mult să putem avea acest episod din podcast Echilibrat, pentru că astăzi am un invitat cu adevărat extraordinar. Tocmai am terminat workshop-ul despre progresie și regresie și copil interior. A fost o experiență absolut extraordinară cu Jure Biechonski. Jure Biechonski este o somitate. Mă simt emoționată chiar și acum, după 2 zile în care eu zic că ne-am și împrietenit, și vreau să vi-l prezint și vouă. Avem așa o scurtă plimbare prin CV-ul lui în descriere, așa că n-am să mai insist asupra lui, ci vreau să-l auzim pe Jure vorbind, povestind. E un mare povestitor. Ceea ce am să fac eu astăzi în mare va fi să aduc în discuție niște fragmente care pe mine m-au provocat și să las pe Jure să le dezvolte și să vorbească despre ele. So, welcome Jure. I'm so glad to have you on my podcast, and I feel honored. For me, it was an extraordinary experience. It was a life-changing one, a journey towards something that was very dear to me in my childhood, and then going back in the future, where there is the projection of potential and excellency. So I thank you for that, and please say something about this experience for the people who didn't get to be here, but they are most likely going to be jealous of us.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the most important things, in my opinion, is to understand where we're coming from. Because the child we once were is still alive in our adult shell. And sometimes, unconsciously, even we are trying to do opposite to our children what our parents done to us, unconsciously we repeat the same thing. We're doing to ourselves sometimes the same thing that was done to us by our parents, and sometimes we also do it to our children. To deepen the awareness and understanding of who we are and how we operate, we need to understand what was the input from our parents, to be aware how it affected us, and understand that what happened in the past, in the childhood, it's still affecting us in the present in our behavior. To make the connection from where we're coming from and how it affects us in the present, at that moment, we need to do the most important thing, to start to plan the future. How can we make one step to the future without understanding where we're coming from? We need to become aware of our own personal history. And this is the most important thing.
I heard you saying something very interesting in the workshop. You said that we suffer of verbal diarrhea and emotional constipation. I like the thing that you use metaphors, and that you have that courage to be a little bit eccentric and provocative. Please tell me a little bit about the out-of-the-box experiences and techniques that you use.
So, I spent many years studying psychology, and I realized something very interesting. The psychology is something we all do, put in a language that nobody understands. And the theory sometimes is not connected to real life and is sometimes the theory is not applicable in real life. So the message that I want to give, I want it to be understood by everybody. I simplify things. I'm talking about common life experiences. I don't use professional jargon. I don't use psychological labels. I talk about something we all do. So when I say that we've got an emotional constipation and verbal diarrhea, okay, we all can relate to a language like that and not use a word that are not understandable by the general public. So when I talk to a public, okay, I imagine that in my audience sit people that have nothing to do with psychology or personal awareness. I want to imagine that I have there people from different level of education, from different life experiences, and I want to talk so I can reach everybody, not elevate them above them. And one of the also most important thing, okay, is to give a message that I know what you're talking about because I experienced it myself.
When you do that, you assume a risk. It's a risk you're taking to make yourself vulnerable with your client, in front of your client.
When I take a risk to show myself, my vulnerability from my client, I give them permission to show vulnerability themselves. Because the whole aim of this journey is to give the other people permission to feel and to start to normalize what they think is not normal. So the message is all our so-called problems, physical and emotional, are just a normal reaction to a difficult and abnormal situation. What conventional psychology and conventional medicine are doing, they try to eliminate the normal reaction and are leaving deep inside the real emotional causes. So let's put it much more simple words. If you cut the weeds in the garden, they will grow back again after the next rain. The more often you cut them, the stronger they grow. Every gardener without an academic degree knows a very simple fact. If I want to remove the weeds, I need to dig the roots out. So we have to distinguish between symptoms and emotional roots. We need to start dig deep and remove the roots so they don't grow back again. So if I'm helping somebody to overcome depression or panic attacks, I've got lots of techniques that can do it. But then what happens? By the end of the therapeutic journey, I'm sending them back to the exact environment that have caused them in the first place. So when I talk in metaphors, when I talk in pictures, it's more understandable. You know, it's like we read a book, a nice intelligent book, we might forget about it, but we never forget a good story. This is why we remember fairy tales. And one of my favorite seminars is how to work with adults using fairy tales as metaphors. We always remember a good story, and it's so important to always tell stories and talk in pictures, because a picture stays there forever.
May I borrow your metaphor and add that maybe if we take out the roots, but we don't plant something good instead, maybe there will be a hole there in our garden, and still we won't find the result that we are searching for. And here I noticed something that you emphasize in the workshop, that people may get stuck in their childhood trauma and get obsessed by it, and over again use it as an excuse for not changing something practical in their lives. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about this, because I think it's a quite sensitive subject. We all like to contemplate ourselves, but when it's about making the effort to change, we are a little bit reluctant.
Okay. So sometimes we can approach it from the past, but sometimes useful to approach it from the future. So what is the dream? What is your passion in life? What kind of world we want to leave behind us for the next generation? And to understand how our ideal world or ideal life will look like. And then start to go back and see what action we can take to reach that, and what are the blockages from the past that are preventing us to do it. So we reach this subject from both directions. Because sometimes, in my opinion, we're digging too much into the childhood traumas over and over again, and in a way we give people an explanation and an excuse. What is the reason that you have this problem? Bravo, so now I know why I'm depressed, I know I have panic attacks, and I know everything. I'm aware person, hallelujah. What are we going to do about it?
I really love your sense of humor. And about it, you said something about psychologists. You said that we psychologists, psychiatrists, we like to take care of others, so that we don't have to take care of our own problems.
Yeah.
You don't like this word, problem.
Yeah. So, as I'm teaching people to become psychotherapists, okay, the very first lesson, the very first meeting, I ask each person, what is your personal reason to want to do this? And the focus is on personal. Then I hear stories like, I want to help other people.
De ce?
It's not the ce. I'm going there because I want to help myself. Because I experienced something myself. And I've been there. I know how it affected me. And I want to give this experience and its solution to other people. I want to offer it. But I need to start from the inside of me.
So you think the personal experience and maybe the personal pain that a person brings into a therapeutical relationship is important?
It is important, but it's important for the therapists themselves. When I'm listening to another person, I'm making an effort to get away from an academic head and from the diagnostic and the labeling, and I say, what does it feel to me? In which stage in my life I had similar experiences? Then this is how I connect with another person. I've been there myself. I'm listening to you. This is how it makes me feel. This is what's called giving permission to feel. You see, this question, how do you feel about that? When I ask this question, I see a person put the eyes up and start thinking, and they're going to explain to me something. And what they're going to explain is not exactly a feeling, but a judgment of the feeling. So, in therapy, we've got what's called the presenting problem. The presenting problem is a symptom. Underneath the presenting problem, there's the underlying problem. When was the first time in your life when you felt it? How old were you then? How old was the little you when you experienced this the first time? And the underlying problem is also not the real problem. The real problem is the feeling that I felt. And the feeling is not the real problem, it's the judgment of the feeling. I'm not supposed to get angry. I'm supposed to love everybody. I'm supposed to love myself. I'm supposed to be positive. I'm supposed to have positive thoughts. And I know it logically because I read the book, but I find it hard to apply to myself.
Sounds like a curse. How do we undo it?
Okay. If we cut the weeds on the garden, they grow back up next rain. If we cut cancer from a human body and we send them back to the environment when the cancer has started, there is a chance for every secondary cancer. The moment that we realize what are the forbidden emotions that has caused us, and forbidden by whom? Don't cry because it's not nice. Don't be sad. Smile, it's not the end of the world. Don't be afraid. Be strong. In other words, all those messages are don't feel. Think. We're living in a thinking society. 1 + 1 is 2. There is black and white, and this is it. There's nothing in the middle. It's the feeling. What is the feeling?
Look, I'd like to ask that. You describe things in a very poetic, artistic way, with shades that come between colors, between tones. And I want to know if this approach is suitable, is available for everyone, or you have to be a certain type to be receptive to it.
Okay. So, first of all, I need to start the journey from the place that the other person is at. And sometimes they are in a very logical place and they need to understand everything. So I start with logic. Okay? I start with logic, and the through metaphors and pictures, a person starts to realize that what they think is logical is totally illogical. Logically, I know I'm not supposed to have this problem. I know it. I read the book, I'm an intelligent person. I studied psychology. I know I'm not supposed to be sad. I know I'm supposed to love myself. I know all this. If all our problems are more logical, we psychologists will be out of business. We are in the business of the illogical. And if everything is illogical, it's created by our imagination. So you see, when we read poetry, when you look at a picture on the wall, when we read literature, it was created by people's imagination. All the beautiful things, music, everything was created by human imagination. But today, everything is scientific, has to be proven, and I'm sorry, in my opinion, I think that our scientific research tools are too primitive to prove anything.
I totally agree. Well, listening and being a witness to what you've done today and the other day, I couldn't help but noticing that people had a lot in common. People that came with that social mask and being socially accepted persons, and they come to develop that inner identity that was vulnerable and fragile. And what I saw in almost everybody was a nucleus of shame or fear of rejection. Those two, fear and shame.
Yeah.
Please tell me about it.
Okay. Now, I work so far in more than 70 countries in the world. In each country, I hear the same message. In our culture, we don't express feelings. In our culture, we don't hug. Culture is a defense mechanism. We are all the same.
Yes, we are.
But what happens is, okay, I have a problem which I think I'm not supposed to have. Maybe there's something wrong with me. So I'm starting to be ashamed of it. And then client comes to therapy. I've got a problem you never heard of. Because this is what makes me special. It's my depression, my panic attack. It's mine, that you're not going to take it away from me. It's part of my identity. I'm a depressed person. It's an identity crisis. It's not yours. If it's yours, there's nothing I can do. So, you see, I know I like to simplify things, and I know that some of my very professional colleagues have a problem with it. You make things too simple. Yes, and I say you make things too complicated. Everything is so simple. Let's simplify it. It's not yours. It was given to you by somebody else.
Why is it so difficult for people to place the problem where it belongs? Why is it so difficult? Because I've seen it today. People were fighting to keep that burden on their shoulder, not to place it on an absent parent or an abusive one. Why that?
Because I don't want to upset other people. Okay. Now, so here comes a short story, another metaphor. Okay? It's from the Bible. Moses walks on the bank of the river Nile. Suddenly he hears a voice calling his name. He looks around, doesn't see anybody. He asks, who's that? The voice said, it's God talking to you. Moses said, come on, I don't have time for jokes. God says to him, if you don't believe me, I'm God, I'm going to prove it to you. So the stick that Moses was holding became a snake, and there was the burning bush. It's all in the Bible. So Moses said, okay, I believe. What do you want? God said, not a lot. Take my people out of Israel, back to the promised land. Moses says, I can't do it. So God says, why not? Moses said, I have a heavy tongue. Okay? Book of Exodus chapter 4. Which means Moses had a speech problem. And he had a speech problem, he also had a hearing problem. As God don't take any excuses, God told him, take your brother Aaron with you, and he will be your mouth and ears. Book of Exodus, chapter 4. We move now forward to Book of Exodus, chapter 20. The people of Israel are camping at the foot of Mount Sinai. God calls Moses up the mountain, come here, I want to talk to you. Moses gets very excited, climbs the mountain. He forgets to take his brother Aaron with him. He comes to the top of the mountain. God says to him, I want to dictate you some rules and regulations. There was no pen and paper. Moses took some stones, hammer and chisel, and said, I'm ready. God said, right now, number 1, there shall not be other God apart from me. Moses said, what? God had to repeat it again. Moses started knocking the letters in the stone, which takes time. Number 2, number 3, God started to become impatient because he had to repeat everything a few times, and it took time. And God says to Moses, can you just hurry up? I know you people think you are the chosen people, but I got other people to look after. They reach number 5. Respect your father and mother. Finally, Moses finished writing this sentence, and he missed hearing the next sentence. Respect your children. Don't tell me that God Almighty have said, respect your father and mother, and did not said, respect your children. So in my opinion, there were not 10 commandments, there were 12 commandments.
So we need another one. We have 11.
I don't know what it is, okay? But in my opinion, what Moses have missed is respect your children. And if you don't believe me, when you're going to die and you go to heaven and you meet Moses, ask him, you say I was right. So we're supposed to respect our parents, but we're not supposed to respect ourselves. So I'm angry with my parents, but out of respect, I don't want to upset them. They are old. I might kill them. They have blood pressure. I don't want to upset anybody. I'm going to say only nice things to everybody. In my relationship, I also don't want to upset anybody, so I say sometimes things other people want to hear. Because this fear of rejection, if I'm going to say something to you that I think you don't want to hear, you're going to abandon me. So we need to say to each other only what we think the other person wants to hear.
So after all, anger is not such a negative emotion.
Anger is a beautiful emotion. Anger is creative. Art comes from anger. It's expression. Anger is life. I'm angry with you because I care. If I love you and you've done something that is damaging you, I'm angry with you that you've done that. This is what I'm said on this workshop. Okay? Shall I be nice or honest? Okay, honest. I'm angry with you for what you're doing to yourself. And people appreciate it. They appreciate this honesty, this direct approach.
Yeah, but you're not always having a direct approach. You're a kind of magician, from time to time, and a magician, not a wizard, because you distract a little bit the attention so that we can switch the perspective. And what I noticed, and I really loved, was this way of putting it. Let's talk about something else. And you talk about the same thing, only from a different angle.
Okay. Let me once again give a very simple example. Okay? I meet a beautiful woman. Okay? And I want to fulfill my physiological desire. But I'm not going to tell her directly, this is what I want. First, I'm going to take her to a restaurant. We're going to talk about dolphins, about crystals, about astrology, about past lives. I have to be at all time aware, okay? What are the limits of the person that is sitting in front of me? Sometimes I need to bite my tongue and say to myself, not yet, it's too soon. And to be honest, I'm not always choosing the right thing, and sometimes I make mistakes too because I'm human, and I say things too quickly what the person was not ready to hear. So, what is the right way? I'll give you an answer. I don't know. But sometimes I go too quickly, sometimes I go too slow, sometimes I worry, but I'm trying to stay in touch with my feelings, what's happening inside me. And sometimes I'm scared to say to another person what I really think and feel. I'm scared. Sometimes there are things that I don't touch. Maybe it's my limitations, maybe it's my projection, I don't know.
You know, I really liked that. I liked the I don't know. Because I think it offers that area of respect towards the fact that probably the specialist is the client. And I think it's a very honest thing to say and to admit, so that we can establish an equal relationship.
We don't know what is the mind and where is the mind. And we practice psychology, which is the science of the mind. We practice the science of science. We don't know what it is and where it is. Carl Jung talked about it 100 years ago. There's nothing new about it. I just hope that medical doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, and any other scientists are able to say, I don't know. Because scientifically know one thing. What is true today was not true in the past, and what was true in the past is not true today, and it's not going to be true tomorrow. This information is changing all the time. I think it's very arrogant to say this is how it is. This is why I repeat over and over again. In my opinion, and I might be wrong, how it is for you. I'm making assumptions. I don't diagnose. You have a problem. You are in denial. I'm the psychologist, I know.
But we don't always know.
No, we don't do it. Well, most of us, in my opinion, don't do it, but maybe we need to learn. The moment that I know what I don't know, I start to develop. I start to grow spiritually, and emotionally, and mentally. The moment I acknowledge what I don't know. The moment I know everything, I become like an apple that became ripe on the tree and start rotting.
Yes.
Another metaphor. Another picture.
Another picture, yes. And you know, this one really has a medical evidence base. And I know how much you like doctors and psychiatrists, but it is true that a brain that's maintaining itself young and healthy is a brain that doesn't have all the answers. The moment when we stop learning is the moment when we starting to get old. The neurons start to die. And now there is one more thing that I'd like us to approach before going to eat and drink a lot of wine. So I want to talk about the need of a community, the need of people coming together to learn, to personal develop, and to obtain information on psychotherapy and personal growth. And I know you have this kind of communities in Bucharest and in Timișoara, and that you are having a workshop and people who are waiting for you to come in a lot of countries in Europe. And for me it would be a dream, and I usually accomplish my dreams, to create such a community here, because I think here in Moldavia it's a great need of such things. I know that you agree, but I need your support here.
No. As I said, I'm on a mission. 50 years ago, I was given 1 year to live, and I came back. I came back because the message that I received when I went to the other side is, go back, you have not finished. It took me 10 years to realize what I'm supposed to do. So this is what I'm doing worldwide. So I go when I need it, and I do my best. As I'm very spontaneous, which can be called also impulsive, which is the same thing, depends from which angle you look, sometimes getting frustrated that it takes too much time and it works too slowly, because I want it done and finished and sold tomorrow. But I'm looking at the world out there. It's an emergency. We don't have time to just wait until a client is ready for it. We need to start doing it yesterday. We are in a state of emergency. And we need to start to work, and we need to start to work now. Okay, let me put it in other words. I declare war on reality out there. I don't like it. This reality is getting worse by the day. So I declared war. So I went to war, but I cannot fight alone. What I do, I build an army. I want an army to fight with me. I'm creating a new kind of terrorists, the one who are putting bombs of love everywhere.
The love terrorists.
The love terrorist.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Jure Biechonski. It's been an honor.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we are going to recreate this event soon, and that we are going to have some even more interesting, intense, life-changing experiences. Thank you for this one.
It was my pleasure.
Și vă mulțumesc și vouă. Data viitoare veți veni.